Have you ever reached the end of the day and thought to yourself, wasn't retirement supposed to feel more relaxing than this? You're not alone. A lot of people imagine retirement as one long vacation, sleeping in, no stress, time to do whatever you want. But then reality sets in. The days can start to feel empty, or the opposite. They become so packed with responsibilities and favor for others that you forget you're retired at all. It can feel exhausting, and that's when burnout quietly sneaks in. Now, the word burnout is usually tossed around in conversations about careers and work, but it doesn't disappear the moment we retire. In fact, burnout in retirement is more common than most people realize. It might not look the same as workplace stress, but it carries a heavy weight. Emotional fatigue, loss of interest, even physical tiredness that doesn't go away with rest. And if we're not careful, it can start to eat away at our joy, our health, and even the years we have left to enjoy. But here's the good news. You're not stuck with that feeling, and you don't need a complete life overhaul to change it. What you do need, what makes the biggest difference, is mindset. The way we see this phase of life shapes everything. Our choices, our energy, our relationships, and even how long and well we live. And today, I want to talk to you about 4 powerful mindsets that can help you steer clear of burnout and step into a richer, more fulfilling version of retirement. Let's begin with something simple but so often forgotten, the mindset of purpose over productivity. For decades, many of us measure our worth by what we accomplished in a day. A job well done, a list checked off, a deadline met. It gave us a sense of meaning, of place in the world. And when that structure disappears, we don't always know what to do with ourselves. But here's the shift. Retirement isn't about doing less. It's about doing what matters more. The goal isn't to stay busy. It's to stay connected to what gives you purpose. That might be helping others, or expressing creativity, or spending time with loved ones in a meaningful way. It doesn't have to be big or impressive. Even tending a small garden, learning to paint, mentoring someone younger, or volunteering once a week can reawaken that inner spark. A friend of mine, Tom, used to be a high school principal. Every day was packed. He thought retirement would be freedom, and it was for about 3 months. Then the restlessness hit. The days felt aimless. He told me he felt like a ghost in his own house. So he started tutoring local kids at the library twice a week. Just a few hours. Nothing flashy, but he came back to life. He had a reason to get up, a place to go, a connection to something bigger than himself. He stopped measuring his days by how much he got done and started measuring them by how full they felt. Now, not everyone will find their spark in tutoring, and that's okay. The key is asking yourself, what makes me feel useful even now? It might be a small moment, a phone call to cheer up a friend, writing down your life story for your grandkids, or building birdhouses in your garage. Whatever it is, let that purpose be your compass. That brings me to the second mindset, which is all about embracing rhythm, not rigidity. In work life, we often live by the clock. Wake up at 6, get to work by 8, lunch at noon, done by 5. That routine gave structure, but also gave pressure. Retirement invites us to find a different kind of rhythm, one that fits our energy, not someone else's demands. But what happens to many retirees is that they swing too far in the other direction, no rhythm at all. Days blur together, and suddenly it's Tuesday, then Saturday, then another week gone. Without any rhythm, even good things start to feel tiring. Meals become irregular, sleep gets disrupted, and everything takes more effort. Think of your days like a gentle song instead of a ticking clock. You don't need strict schedules, but you do need flow. Maybe you take your morning walk around the same time each day. Maybe mid-mornings are for hobbies, and evenings are for reading or watching a favorite show. You can build a soft pattern that gives your life shape without boxing you in. There's something deeply calming about knowing what your body and mind can expect. It removes decision fatigue. It helps you build energy instead of constantly draining it. And it also helps you be present, because you're not chasing after a to-do list or wondering what to do next. A woman I met at a community center shared how she transformed her retirement by simply giving her days a theme. Mondays were for trying new recipes. Wednesdays were for swimming. Fridays for visits with her sister. It wasn't rigid. She skipped days when needed, but it gave her a rhythm that made her weeks feel meaningful, not monotonous. That's what we're after. Not a return to the grind of schedules, but a rhythm that soothes and supports you. Because when your days flow well, your mind and body relax. And when you relax, you thrive. And once you find that gentle rhythm, something beautiful starts to happen. You begin to rediscover joy in the everyday. That brings us to another mindset that's easy to overlook, yet deeply powerful. Curiosity over comfort. Now I know, at this stage in life, comfort feels well-earned. And it is. You spent years working hard, raising families, navigating ups and downs. So naturally, retirement often feels like the perfect time to settle into what's familiar. But here's the quiet truth. Too much comfort, without enough curiosity, can lead to something that looks like peace on the outside, but feels like boredom on the inside. It's not about chasing excitement. It's about keeping the spark alive. That little nudge inside you that says, I wonder what would happen if I tried this, or I've always wanted to learn more about that. You see, our brains thrive on curiosity. Staying mentally active, exploring new interests, stepping a little outside our comfort zone. These are things that don't just keep burnout away. They keep our minds sharp, our hearts engaged, and our spirits feeling alive. Let me tell you about George. He was a retired electrician who had never traveled outside his state. One day, completely on a whim, he signed up for a beginner Spanish class at the local community center. He said he felt nervous and a little silly at first, sitting there with a notepad and pen among strangers. But within weeks, he was hooked. The newness, the challenge, the laughter when he messed up a word. It all gave him something to look forward to. That one small decision gave him not just something to do, but something to grow into. It doesn't have to be a language. It could be taking photos of flowers on your morning walk, trying out watercolors, starting a small book club, learning the ukulele, even try out an app on your phone that helps you explore space or listen to classical music. The point isn't to become an expert. The point is to stay engaged. When your curiosity wakes up, life feels bigger again. And burnout has a much harder time creeping in when your days are filled with wonder. And this leads gently into another mindset that can truly extend the quality of your life. Connection over comparison. It's easy, especially in retirement, to start comparing with friends, neighbors, even family members. Who's traveling more? Who has the most visitors? Who looks younger or seems happier? But comparison is a quiet thief. It sneaks in and robs you of joy, even when your life is full of beautiful things. That's why it's so important to shift the focus from comparing yourself to others to connecting with others in a genuine way. That might mean making time for deep conversations, reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while, or simply being present when someone shares their story with you. You'd be surprised how many people feel lonely, even when surrounded by others. Retirement can bring freedom, but it can also bring isolation, especially if you've lost a spouse, moved to a new area, or drifted from old routines. But one small moment of real connection can change your entire day. There was a woman named Helen I met during a wellness workshop for seniors. She'd been feeling disconnected for months after moving to a new neighborhood. One day, she saw a woman walking a dog that looked just like the one she did years ago. Instead of just smiling and walking by, she stopped and said, "Your dog reminds me of someone I loved a long time ago." That single comment led to conversation and eventually a new friendship, all because she chose connection over staying in her own bubble. And the beauty is, connection doesn't always have to come from people you've known for years. It can come from a shared laugh in a grocery store, a few kind words exchanged during a morning walk, or a note slipped into a neighbor's mailbox just to say hi. Every act of connection plants a seed that grows into something far stronger than burnout. It grows into belonging. When we stay curious, when we choose connection instead of comparison, and when we build a rhythm that gives us purpose, something begins to shift. We don't just fill our days, we fill our hearts. And that's what helps retirement become not just a time of rest, but a time of renewal. Burnout can't thrive in a space where you feel excited to wake up, free to explore, and safe to be yourself. That's what these mindsets offer, a way to stop simply surviving retirement and start really living it. And sometimes, even when everything seems to be going just fine, there's a quiet feeling that creeps in, one that's hard to explain. You wake up, the sun's shining, the coffee's hot, and yet there's a little emptiness, a sense that something is missing, even though all the boxes of a good retirement are checked. That's when we arrive at perhaps the most transformative mindset of all, meaning over maintenance. It's natural to want life to feel smooth and easy after years of working, raising a family, and carrying responsibilities. You've spent decades maintaining everything: your job, your home, your health, your relationships. But in retirement, if we keep focusing only on maintenance, making sure the bills are paid, the laundry's done, the doctor appointment are checked off, then we miss something vital. We miss the deep satisfaction that comes from meaning, from doing things that matter, not because we have to, but because they feed the soul. So what gives you meaning? It might be helping others, not necessarily in big ways, but in small acts that ripple far beyond what you see, like offering to drive someone to their appointment, or sharing a story with a grandchild that helps them understand the world just a little better, or volunteering once a week at the local library, hospital, or animal shelter. It could also be as simple as tending a garden, not just because it keeps you busy, but because watching something grow gives you a sense of wonder. There was a gentleman named Carl who retired from the post office after 40 years. At first, he kept busy with TV, crossword puzzles, and cleaning the garage. But after a few months, he admitted he felt lost. One day, he walked past a group of teenagers waiting for the school bus and overheard one say, "I wish someone actually taught us how to do taxes." That tiny comment stuck with him. The next week, he started offering free help at the community center for young adults learning about finances. He said it made him feel like all those years at the post office had prepared him for something, not to rest, but to give. Meaning doesn't always have to come from action, either. It can also come from reflection, from writing down your story, recording your memories, leaving behind a legacy in your own words, not for praise or attention, but because your life has mattered and your voice deserves to be heard. This shift from simply maintaining life to making meaning in it, that's what keeps your heart young. That's what fends off the dullness, the drifting, and the emotional fatigue that often sneak into retirement when we aren't looking. When your days are filled with meaning, even the hard ones feel lighter. You begin to carry yourself differently. You don't just pass time. You fill time with your values, your experiences, and your presence. And the people around you can feel it, too. Think about it. The people who seem to age the most gracefully, who have that spark in their eyes even in their 80s and 90s, they usually have one thing in common. They're still connected to something greater than themselves. It doesn't have to be a job, a title, or a big mission. Sometimes it's just a sense of responsibility to live fully, because life itself is a gift they're not taking for granted. When burnout tries to settle in, through loneliness, routine, or even physical exhaustion, meaning gives us a reason to keep going, a reason to smile through aches, a reason to get out of bed when no one's calling, a reason to make the most of this beautiful stage of life, with all its softness and wisdom. And perhaps that's the message that matters most here. Retirement isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of something entirely new. A time when your value no longer depends on how fast you work, how much you earn, or how full your calendar looks. It's a time when your worth comes from simply being who you are, fully and truly. A time to ask, what do I want these years to mean? Because when you begin to answer that question, not just with your words, but with your actions, something incredible happens. Life feels lighter. You feel more grounded. And burnout? It doesn't stand a chance against a life that's filled with purpose, curiosity, connection, and presence. You don't have to overhaul your whole world. You just have to start small. A walk that brings peace. A call that brings laughter. A moment that brings stillness. One day at a time, one heartbeat at a time. And if no one has told you lately, let me remind you, you're still growing. You're still needed. And you're absolutely allowed to shape these years into something meaningful just for you. There's something powerful about realizing that your best days aren't necessarily behind you. They're just different now. You're not running from meeting to meeting, or raising small children, or building a career. You're crafting a life that's quieter, perhaps, but also richer in ways you couldn't fully appreciate when things move faster. It's easy to forget that slowing down doesn't mean giving up. In fact, slowing down can be the very thing that brings you back to yourself. When the noise falls away, the deadlines, the expectations, the need to constantly prove something, what's left is your essence. And that essence, it's more than enough. That's why it's so important to remind yourself that your presence matters. That simply waking up, breathing deeply, and showing up for your own life is already a beautiful thing. When burnout tries to sneak in with its whispers of, "You're not doing enough," or "Your life isn't exciting anymore," you have every right to answer back with stillness, with kindness, and with a quiet smile that says, "I'm here. I'm living this day fully." One of the most life-extending mindsets, and perhaps the most underrated, is gentle acceptance. Not resignation, not giving up, but acceptance of who you are, of the changes that come with time, of the days that feel slower, and the body that doesn't always cooperate, and the way grief and joy often walk side by side as we grow older. Acceptance doesn't mean we stop growing or stop dreaming. It just means we stop fighting the natural rhythm of life. We stop demanding that things look exactly the way they used to, and instead find beauty in the way they are now. And in that shift, peace begins to bloom. I once met a woman named Ruth who told me something that stayed with me for years. She was in her early 80s and had recently lost her husband. I asked her how she was coping, and she said, "I let myself be sad when I need to be. I let myself laugh when I feel like it. I let life come to me now, instead of always chasing after it." And then she smiled and added, "There's freedom in surrendering to what is and finding joy anyway." Her words felt like a little lantern in the dark, because sometimes we think avoiding burnout means pushing through, staying busy, always being productive. But what if it's the opposite? What if the secret is in resting well, feeling deeply, letting go gracefully, and loving life even when it's quiet? You've done so much already. You've carried responsibilities, built relationships, weathered storms, celebrated victories. Now is the time to live in a way that fills you back up, whether that's spending time with people who light you up, savoring a slow afternoon with a book. Try your hand at painting or journaling or photography, whatever whispers to your heart and makes time feel full again. Don't worry about being perfect or impressive or busy. Worry about being whole, about laughing when something's funny, about crying when something touches you, about being fully present in the moments you still get to live. That's the real secret to avoiding burnout. Not some magic formula or rigid schedule, but a shift in how you see yourself and your time. You're not fading, you're transforming. And every phase of transformation is an opportunity to become even more of who you really are. So take a deep breath. Feel the air move through your body. Let it remind you that you're still here, still capable, still needed in this world. Maybe not in the same roles or ways as before, but in quiet, profound, powerful ways that only someone with your experience, your wisdom, and your heart could offer. And remember, it's okay to move at your own pace. It's okay to redefine what success means. It's okay to spend time simply being, without constantly doing. You don't need to earn your rest. You've earned it already by living. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, tired, or unsure of your place now that the busyness of earlier life has passed, know this: you're not alone. Many people feel this way, but also know that you have the power to shape this chapter into something beautiful. Not by hustling harder, but by embracing the peace that's available to you now. You've already climbed mountains. Now you get to sit at the summit and enjoy the view. Let that view be filled with joy, connection, curiosity, and meaning. Let it reflect a life not just well-lived, but well-loved. If something in today's video resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might be just what someone else needs to hear today. And if you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more uplifting conversations just like this one. Above all, take care of yourself. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You deserve to feel peaceful. You deserve to feel inspired. And you deserve to live these years with as much light and love as you can hold. Here's to living your best life At any age,